Let's get this set up. Let's check. Let's make sure that we're streaming. Let's see. Second. Yes, we are live. Let me get that all out. So welcome back, everybody. Okay. I will chant Jai Radhamadava. Jai Radhamadava, Jaya Kunda Vihare, Jaya Kunda Vihare, Vichana Pallava, Jaya Girivara Hare, Jaya Girivara Hare, Vichana Pallava, Jaya Girivara Hare, Girivara Hare, Sonarandana, Jaya Vajajanarandana, Sonarandana, Jaya Vajajanarandana, Munatira Manachare Naya Kanjaviyale, Jaya Kanjaviyale, Munatira Manachare Naya Kanjaviyale, Kanjaviyale, Jaya Kanjamadava, Jaya Kanjaviyale, Jaya Kanjaviyale, Vijana Pallava, Girivara Hare, Girivara Hare, Vijana Pallava, Girivara Hare, Girivara Hare, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Go Haribo 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paracharya Avstrateta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Savaya Chatanath Divinadna Ghost Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturanam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamaya Ki Jai, Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarne. So, it's good to be back on the air. So, we're going to continue with our study of Srila Prabhupada's early book that he wrote before he came to America. It's called In Search of the Absolute Truth, and it has to deal with Ramananda Roy's discussion with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where Ramananda Roy is answering the questions that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is posing. So we're going to finish this book. So I am here in America for about another 3 weeks before we go to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. So finish this book and maybe start another book in the meantime. And then when I get back from Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, we'll continue with our nightly classes or morning classes, depending on where you are in this world. So Om Ganat Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Om Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so now we are going to share the screen like we normally do and continue reading from Srila Prabhupada's early book. And the next section, where we left off, begins with something called By Srimati Radharani's Side. So we're going to share that. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Let me just get this set up here so we can see everybody and also see the screen and the chat window. If someone has an emergency thing they want to chat up, has to be urgent. So let's go. So by Srimati Radharani's side, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is understood from the authoritative literatures which describe the transcendental pastimes of Godhead that in the arena of the Rasa dance, Rasa Leela dance, Sri Krishna distributed himself in his innumerable Prakash expansions by keeping himself between each of the cowherd girls. So the word Prakash is very interesting. I've been doing a little bit of research about, these words like Prakash and Vilas and Vaibhava Prakash and Prakash Vilas and all these other things like that. So Prakash means to enlightened or to show brightly, like a prakash, like the sunshine and the moonshine. So it means to show Krishna's transcendental nature. So Prakash expands by keeping himself in between each of the coward girls. He also kept himself by the side of Srimati Radharani. The Prakash expansions of his transcendental body are all identical, but the personality of by the side of Srimati Radharani is his original form, Swayam Rupa. That's very interesting. Swayam Rupa means original form. And the expansions that look the same as his original form are Prakash expansions of the Swayam Rupa. Got it? Very interesting. Shri Krishna is equal to everyone in his general dealings, but due to the conflicting ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani, there were opposing elements. This is described in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Ujjvala Nilamani is actually the book by Rupa Goswami. There's a postgraduate study of the Nectar of Devotion. And don't read it unless you're actually qualified. Of course, you could read this particular section because it's presented by Prabhupada. Aheri premna svabhavakutila bhavet ato etorahitos yunor mana udanchati. The curved waves of progressive love affairs appear like the movement of a snake. Further, let's see, is it working? Yeah, it's working. I just want to make sure, because I was having trouble with the microphone earlier today. Further, two kinds of anger. Anger with a cause and anger without a cause arise within the dealings of a young man and a young woman. So that happens within this world and also in the transcendental relationships between Radha and Krishna. And the transcendental relationships in Radha and Krishna are the Adi Ras, and all the rasas we experience outside of Krishna consciousness in this world are perverted reflections of this original ras. In pursuance of the above principles, Srimati Radharani, in the mood of erotic anger, left the arena of the Rasa Leela with a feeling of devout attachment. Thus Sri Hari also became mad after her and perturbed in his mind out of anger without cause. Sri Krishna's desire was to enjoy the transcendental pastime of Rasa Leela to its fullness, and the cornerstone of its whole construction was Srimati Radharani. Without her presence, the Rasa Leela is upset. Therefore, the absence of Srimati Radharani caused Krishna to leave the arena and go in search of her. When Sri Krishna was unable to find Srimati Radharani after searching here and there, he began overwhelmingly afflicted by Cupid's arrow and began to deeply lament on account of her absence. This fact proves that the transcendental heart of Sri Krishna is not satiated even by the enjoyment in the midst of so many millions of other coward girls. As such, the intensity of his love for Srimati Radharani is impossible to describe. Shoo. All the above statements regarding the transcendental Leela of Sri Radhakrishna profusely delighted Lord Chaitanya, and he became completely satisfied by his meeting with Ramananda Roy. So this is a little Bengali. Prabhu kahe, that means Lord Chaitanya said, Ye lagi oilama tomastane, se zapatattva vastu haila morachan gine, ebina jani lun sajja sadhana nirdaya, ar ageyara achekichu, shunite manahaya, krishnera sarupa, kaharadara sarupa, rasakon tatva prema kon tatva rupa, vipakari tatva kahata amare domavina kaya iha nirupate narai. Lord Chaitanya said to Ramananda, I have now come to know the truth of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani, for which I approach you. I have understood the truth of the highest goal to be attained and also the means to attain it. Therefore, please explain the divine nature Shri Krishna and also that of Srimati Radharani. Please also let me know the truth of the mellowness of the supra-mundane love affairs. That means transcendental love affairs. Nobody can explain all these except your good self. Therefore, I request you to do me this favor by your unbounded mercy. Changing the bodies. Advancement of material science in the field of medical surgery has made it possible to change the body of a human being from male to female or from female to male by surgical operation. So, this is common nowadays in America, and even the children are allowed to do this. Prabhupada is not in favor of it, and I'm certainly not. The desire to change the body in this way is a kind of mundane lust. This lusty idea is a perverted reflection of the transcendental idea of changing the body, as in the case of the Shrutis. So what Prabhupada is referring to here is that the Shrutis, the Vedas personified, they saw Lord Ramchandra, and they were in love with Lord Ramchandra in a conjugal mood. Now, they do not have the bodies to enact that particular or those particular pastimes, nor was it appropriate with Lord Ramchandra because Lord Ramchandra had a vow. And his vow was Eka Patni. Eka Patni means one wife, one life, one word, one arrow. So the Shrutis actually wanted to become females and have a relationship with the Lord. But that was on the spiritual platform, not that they wanted to go to a doctor to have some operations so they could become females and be injected with some hormones. That's not what they wanted to do. Actually, if someone is given us a particular type of body, I understand some people are not comfortable with their body and they may want to make their body thin or fat. Who wants to do that? But anyway, they may want to make their body differently, to look differently than they and they may go to a plastic surgeon or whatever. But generally, we should be satisfied and tolerate, even if we don't feel comfortable in our body. I mean, I don't feel comfortable in my body, not because I want to change the gender, because I don't feel comfortable in a material body. I feel comfortable in a spiritual body. It's like the material body just doesn't fit properly. Whether it's male or female, it just doesn't fit. It's a bad fit. So if you keep changing, thinking you're going to get a better fit, it doesn't work. You'll simply be frustrated. You'll be like this. In the Philippines, there used to be this lady who was the president's or prime minister's wife. Her name was Imelda Marcos, and she had thousands, if not 10,000s of shoes. Thinking, she changed her shoes or the shoes matched or whatever that should make her happy. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And some people have hundreds or thousands of cars. They want to get the latest car, and they have so many different cars in their garage. So it's the same thing as bodies. Just changing the body, you're still going to be frustrated because your frustration is coming because of the ill fit of the material body, Prabhu. Okay. So here, Prabhupada says, the idea of changing the body from one form to another is quite possible, even by the way of the materialistic mind. Therefore, by spiritual development, the possibility of changing the body for the better is even greater. You can do it. But that's a spiritual body. Or you can change your body from one lifetime to another. You really want to become a lady or really want to become a man. Then, just at the time of death, meditate on some handsome man, get yourself a movie poster. Find, you ladies who want to be men, find the most handsome, forget the exact word, the handsome whatever he is. Hunk. Okay, here's the word. Find yourself the most handsome hunk and meditate on a picture of that handsome hunk when you leave your body, then you will become a handsome hunk. Or if you're a man, you want to become a woman, you meditate on the picture of the most whatever lady. And then you'll take, that's a way to change bodies. But we're not interested in that, nor is Prabhupada referring to that. Prabhupada is referring to the spiritual form. Like if you're a pure devotee and you realize that your spiritual body is female and you have a material body or physical body that's male, that's one thing. That's what Prabhupada is referring to. The conclusion of the above mentioned spiritual perfection is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.21. Nayam su kapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha dinaninam chatma bhutanam ayata bhakti matam iha. Sri Krishna, who is the son of Srimati Yashoda Devi, is more easily available to persons engaged in spontaneous devotional service than to persons engaged in empiric philosophical speculation. Empiric philosophical speculations means we try to understand things with our senses or with our mind. The ascending process rather than the descending process. Descending process means we accept things coming down from Krishna. One who therefore accepts the example set by the coward girls of Braja and always meditates upon the transcendental pastimes of Shri Radha Krishna day and night while living in Braja and serving them there, will ultimately obtain the body of a Saki and directly serve Radha Krishna. So that's the way to change your gender. Men or ladies don't have to change your gender. You're already in a female material body, so you'll take a female spiritual body. But that's how to get the body you want. True. So let's say you're in a female body and you really feel masculine. Okay. Meditate on the coward boys. It's actually funny. Better than going to a doctor and then you change your material body and then you feel like really uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's just not going to fit. That you have to understand. Your body is not meant to fit you no matter what the gender, no matter how handsome, no matter how pretty, no matter how tall, no matter how small, no matter how whatever, strong or talented. It doesn't fit. You're not going to be satisfied. But we're always thinking that we do this material change and then we're going to be satisfied. Once I have this, not only body, once I have this possession, this person, this wife, this husband, that's going to satisfy. No, it won't satisfy you. It's like throwing petrol on a fire. It will further inflame your desires and your dissatisfaction with this world. That's a fact. Avritam Gyanamete Gyani. Anyway, an eternal life of ecstasy. The supra-mundane body, that means the spiritual body, is transcendental to the gross and subtle bodies of the living entity and is suitable for rendering service to Shri Radha Krishna. Transmigration of the soul from one body to another takes place in material existence according to the living entity's fruitive activities, which are carried out in relation to the three modes of nature. That's normal reincarnation, material reincarnation. In the Bhagavad Gita, the transmigration of the soul is vividly described. The mind carries the soul to another body just as the air carries aromas. At the time of death, one's state of mind is very important in this connection. The mind is prone to be absorbed in a particular kind of thinking, feeling, willing that is always done in relation to its daily activities. Prabhupada said quite a bit here. First of all, 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita tells you that whatever you think of at the time of death carries you to the next body, and that's the subtle body, the mind, and that's like the air carrying aromas. But that's the point is whatever you're thinking about at the time of death is determined by what you've been doing throughout your life, or as Prabhupada says, its daily activities. You can't just like pull a switch at the time of death, and throughout your life you've been a rascal, and at the time of death, ooh, Krishna. No, not going to work like that. You're going to have rascal thoughts at the time of death. So the state of mind at the time of leaving the body depends on the modes of thinking, feeling, and willing. What is thinking, feeling, willing? Thinking means the thought comes. Feeling means I begin to feel some symptoms connected with that thought. The desire becomes further enhanced, and willing means you actually do it. Devotees are advised to think continuously day and night about the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So their minds will be absorbed with that type of thinking, feeling, willing. As such, it would be possible for the living entity to enter the kingdom of Radha and Krishna, to directly associate with them for rendering loving service in a particular sentiment that he or she cultivated continually during his life. In other words, it's a process of cultivation. In material existence, the mind is always conditioned to think about material enjoyment. Therefore, the mind has to be engaged in contemplating the transcendental subject matter that has no connection with the three modes of nature. Now, in the beginning, Krishna and Prabhupada give us service and prasadam. Of course, we take prasadam throughout and we serve throughout, but we become absorbed in the service in the beginning, or become absorbed in eating prasadam. But in the long term, we still do service and we still eat prasadam, but our mental absorption is in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. The divine pastimes of Radha and Krishna and the activities of the cowherd girls of Braja are above the three qualities of material nature. When the mind is engaged in thinking, feeling, and willing in connection with such transcendental subjects, the living entity is sure to ultimately get the service of Radha and Krishna. So if we're not on the platform where we continue to think of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, then we meditate on our service. And our service, what is that verse? Brahmarpanam Brahmahavya Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahma Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinam. So our service is non-different than the spiritual world, than Krishna. The Deva Vrata, that means people who take a vow of serving the Devas, demigods. People situated in the mode of goodness worship the demigods such as Brahma and Shiva and attain the abodes of such demigods. The Pitri Vratas, people who are situated in the mode of passion for enjoying the material world and who worship the Pitris, forefathers who have passed away, attain the different abodes of the Pitris. It's also heavenly. The Bhutejas, animal and ghost worshippers who are situated in the mode of darkness and ignorance, also attain their respective destinations in the material world. They go to the ghosts, obviously. But the devotees of the personality of Godhead attain his supreme abode, which is eternal. No one ever returns after attaining that abode. Of course, that's a Bhagavad Gita verse, basically. Yanti deva vratan devan pitrin yanti pitrin vrataha bhutani yante bhuteja. That one who worships the Devas, they go to the Devas. One who worships the forefathers, they go to the forefathers. One who worships the ghosts and spirits, they go to the ghosts and spirits. All other spheres of attainment are considered temporary abodes. Abodes means places, because they are either vanquished after a limited duration of time, or the residents of those abodes have come back again to this earth after they have exhausted the results of their previous pious activities. Another verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Shane punye marcha lokam vishanti. After your pious activities ran out, you may be in heaven enjoying going to all the movie theaters in heaven. I know there's no movie theaters in heaven. Dance performances. Then you come back to the earth. As far as the Bhutejas, that means the ghost worshippers, are concerned, they are doomed to hover on this earth or even in lower regions of the universe. In other words, they probably go to New Orleans. Lord Chaitanya offers all people in this age of Kali, who are by nature very unfortunate in every respect, the highest benefit of life. As such, those who take this opportunity will be considered the most fortunate souls. By following the principles of devotional activities as propounded by Ramananda Roy, under the order of Lord Chaitanya, Every human being can attain the eternal life of ecstasy in the company of the personality of Godhead in different transcendental rasas as are enjoyed by the denizens of Braja or Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Sri Krishna. All human beings. And you get special mercy even if you're an animal, like Lord Chaitanya's dogs. Because Lord Chaitanya was feeding coconut pulp to a dog, and the dog went back to Godhead. Without pursuing the footsteps of the gopis, no one can obtain the spiritual body of a Saki. A Saki is a girlfriend of Krishna or an associate of Srimati Radharani and the other gopis, and render service to Sri Krishna, even if the devotional service is rendered in the mood of opulence. If you want to be a Saki, now some of you may be coward boys, then you follow in the footsteps of another coward boy. A vivid example of this is Sri Lakshmi Devi, who desired entrance into the transcendental pastimes of the Rasa Leela of Lord Krishna. However, because Lakshmi Devi did not follow in the footsteps of the coward girls of Braja, she did not get entrance. She wanted to, but she didn't follow in their footsteps. What does she mean? It means she doesn't follow in their footsteps. That she didn't want to become simple coward girl like them. Following the footsteps means you enter into the same mood as the person whom you are following. That's what following the footsteps means. It doesn't mean you just look at their feet imprints and you jump on top of their feet imprints. It means what is their mood. And their mood is very simplicity, devoid of material or even spiritual opulences, external spiritual opulences. And Lakshmi Devi, she liked her mood of worship of Narayan and opulence, and her opulent dress and opulence in serving Krishna, which is all right. That's her mood. And we're not criticizing her. So she couldn't enter into the rasa dance because she wasn't ready to follow the mood of the gopis of Vrindavan. The statement of Ramananda Roy caused Lord Chaitanya to melt in complete ecstasy, and thus he embraced him in his arms. Both Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya were overflowing with tears of transcendental joy. The whole night was thus passed in divine conversation, and when the morning came, both Ramananda and Lord Chaitanya went about their respective engagements. As Lord Chaitanya was leaving, Ramananda fell at his feet and fervently requested him in the following way. More kripa karite tamarihan agamada dinadasa rahi sora mora dushtamana toma vinanya nahi jiva udarite toma vinanya nahi Krishna premadite. You have come here to bestow your divine grace upon me. Therefore, please remain here for at least 10 days and see to it that my polluted mind is corrected. There's no one in the world but you who can deliver the fallen souls, and there's no one in the world except you who can bestow upon them the transcendental mellowness of love of Godhead. Which is true. No other appearance of the Lord could do that. Prabhu Kahi, Lord Chaitanya replied, Prabhu Kahi Ailana Suni Tomara Guna Krishna Sura Karaite Mana Yaiche Sanilun Taiche Tekilun Tomara Mahima Radha Krishna Prema Rasa Janera Tumi Sima Dasa Dinera Kakata Yavadami Jiba Tavatomara Sanga Chadite Nadiba Nilachile Tumiyami Takiba Eka Sange Suke Ganaiva Ka Krishna Katha Range. This is Lord Chaitanya speaking. I came to you after hearing of your reputation of pure devotion in order to purify my mind by hearing the transcendental message of Sri Krishna. I have just verified my information about you upon seeing and hearing you. You are the zenith of transcendental knowledge regarding the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. As such, it will not be possible for me to ever leave your company, what to speak of after 10 days or so. We shall both live at Nilachal Jagannath Puri together and pass our time in perfect happiness, always talking about the subject of the divine pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So, the next section is quite interesting. It's not just about Radha and Krishna. It's about how to live one's life, basically. So the next section is called PQPA. These perfect questions, perfect answers. Here it's entitled Perfect Questions and Answers. So, thus Ramananda, Roy, and Lord Chaitanya separated from one another in the morning, and in the evening they met again. The meeting took place in a secluded area, and the talks began in the same manner of question and answer, with Lord Chaitanya questioning and Ramananda answering. Question. Now remember, the questions are all from Lord Chaitanya. What is the essence of learning in the field of educational activities? Ramananda says, there's no superior quality of learning than the knowledge pursued in regard to devotional service to Sri Krishna. So the most important learning is learning about Krishna, because otherwise all your learning is useless. It's like the brain of an ass. What is the highest fame? Answer. The highest fame of a living being is the reputation of being a devotee of Sri Krishna. What is the most valuable possession of life among all the assets of the world? Answer. One who has transcendental love for Radha and Krishna is to be considered the richest person in the world. What is the most grievous type of sorrow among all sorrows and distresses of life? This is really important. There's no greater type of sorrow than the unhappiness created by separation from devotees of Sri Krishna. In other words, one should prefer to live in a cage of fire or lions or tigers, if the lions or tigers are devotees, rather than live with people who are not devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is the most perfectly liberated among all the liberated souls of the universe? Answer. One who has transcendental love for Sri Krishna is the greatest of all liberated souls. What is the best song that a person can sing? The essence of all songs, answer, is the singing of the transcendental glories of Radha and Krishna. Of course, that's the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What is the highest benefit of life that a person can seek? There's no greater gain in life than the association of devotees engaged in the service of Sri Krishna. In other words, that's the most wonderful thing. And if people commit offenses, they lose that ability. So you see sometimes people, they just can't remain in the association of devotees, even though they may like Krishna consciousness, because they've committed offenses. Who is to be questioned? Who is to be remembered constantly by the living being? Answer. One should always think of the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of Sri Krishna. Question. What should the living being meditate on? Answer. The most perfect type of meditation is to meditate upon the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Question. Where should the living being reside exclusively, leaving all other residential quarters? Answer. One should live in Vrindavan, where the transcendental pastimes of Rasa Leela are perpetually performed. So Prabhupada explained that his temples and the homes of pure devotees are as good as Vrindavan. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided in Jagannath Puri rather than Vrindavan. So what should the living entity hear about, leaving aside all other topics? Answer. The reciprocal loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna are the only subject matter for oral reception by the living entity. Question. What is the most worshipable object among all those to be worshipped? Answer. The topmost worshipable object is the combined names of Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Question. Where do persons go who aspire after liberation or sense enjoyment, respectively? Okay. That may apply to everybody. Answer. The first person attains a body, that means those who want liberation, that is immovable, such as a stone or mountain, and the other attains a celestial body. According to Gautama Buddha, liberation means to become like a stone, without any sense of perception. That is the culmination of Buddhist philosophy. That is depressing. The above questions and answers contain the essence of all transcendental knowledge confirmed in the authoritative scriptures. Now here, further exposition. Next portion is called The Most Learned Fellow. The gradual development of educational activities should be estimated in the following manner. Brahma Vidya, that means spiritual knowledge, or knowledge of the spirit soul, is superior to knowledge of the physical world, obviously. Knowledge about the personality of Godhead is superior to knowledge of the impersonal Brahman or spirit. And knowledge of Sri Krishna and his pastimes is superior to the knowledge of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, because that's the most intimate, and there's more qualities in the Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's manifestation in Vrindavan. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the highest work is that which will satisfy the senses of Hari, and the highest education is to teach about him. When it was learned the 9 different processes of devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the Lord's lotus feet, worshiping, praying, becoming a servant, embracing the Lord in friendship, and fully surrendering unto him, is to be considered the most learned fellow. Fame. The fame a person receives because of being a devotee of Sri Krishna is described in the authoritative scripture Garuda Purana. This is from the Garuda Purana. Kalo Bhagavatam Nama Dulabam Naiva Labhyate Brahmarudra Pado Krishtam Guruna Katitam Mama. I've heard from my spiritual master that in the age of Kali it would be very difficult to find a person who is famous because of being a devotee of Sri Krishna, although such a position is better than the position of Brahma or Shiva. In other words, better to be a devotee than to be Lord Brahma. Of course, you can't be Shiva, but you can be Lord Brahma. Sri Narada Muni has said, Jan Mantara Sahasreshu Yashasyad Bhura Idrashi Dashoham Vasudevasya Sarvalokan Samudharet. A person who considers himself the eternal servant of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, a conception that is achieved after thousands of births, can deliver all the fallen souls in the material existence. So also in the Bhagavad Gita you say Mohanam Janmanamante Gyanavanmam Prabhajate, which Prabhupada is paraphrasing here. After many thousands of births, one Vasudeva Sarvamiti, one understands Krishna is everything. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, such a Mahatma, great soul, is very rare. And such a person, like Srila Prabhupada, can deliver all the fallen souls in material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also confirmed that a person who is actually a Mahatma or great soul, having thoroughly understood that Vasudeva is the Lord of all the universes, is very rarely found, which is the verse I just quoted. After many, many births of acquiring knowledge, he surrenders unto Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. In the Adi Purana, it is said that liberated souls, including the Shrutis, follow the pure devotees of Sri Krishna. In the Brihad Naradiya Purana, it is stated, Yapija Muni Shrestha Ramaja Abhidevata. Until now, even the best among the Munis, sages, or the demigods like Brahma and others do not understand the influence of the devotee who is completely surrendered to the transcendental service of Vishnu. In other words, the great sages can understand Srila Prabhupada, or even the demigods like Lord Brahma. In the Garuda Purana, it is stated, Brahmanannam sahasrevya Kshatrayachi Vishishyate Kshatrayachi Sahasrevya Sarvavedanta Paraga Sarvavedanta Vitkotya Vishnu Bhakto Vishishyate Vaishnavanam Sahasrevya Mekantyako Vishishyate. Out of many, many thousands of brahmanas, One who is expert in the performance of sacrifices is considered the best. He's a young brahmana. Out of many thousands of such experts in the performance of sacrifices, one who has surpassed all the knowledge in the Vedas is considered the best. Out of all those, this is a hierarchy. Out of all those persons who have excelled in the study of the Vedas, a person who is a devotee of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, is considered the best. And out of many, many thousands of such worshippers of Vishnu, one who is a pure Vaishnava or an exclusive devotee of Shri Krishna is the best only because only he will attain the highest abode called Param Dhamma, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita by Shri Krishna himself. It means the topmost abode, which is what? Loka Vrindavan. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is also said that the purpose of acquiring knowledge of all the Shrutis and of endeavoring in all other ways of spiritual culture is that one will become addicted to the process of hearing the transcendental qualities, name, and fame of Mukunda, Shri Krishna. Vishvakshenagatase, no padya dyadi ratim, shama evahi kevalam. And that if you don't become addicted, you're just wasting your time, the Bhagavatam says. In the prayers of the Narayana Leela, it is said that a pure devotee does not desire to be situated even in the position of Brahma if he is devoid of the devotional service of Godhead. Rather, the pure devotee prefers to become even a small insect of such a life as engaged in the devotional service of Godhead. Kita janmoha yatadhu yadas, which is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Same thing. Brahma janme nahiyash. That I will take birth as an insect in the home of a devotee, but not as Lord Brahma if he's not a devotee. All are not equal. The fame of Prahlad Maharaj as a devotee of Godhead is described in the Skanda Purana by Lord Shiva. Not even I can know Shri Krishna as he is. Only the devotee knows him, and of all the devotees, Prahlad is the best. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami says that above Prahlad, the Pandavas are still better devotees, and the Yadus are better than the Pandavas. Out of all the Yadus, Uddhava is the best devotee, and of the damsels of Braj are even better than Uddhava. Therefore, they are the topmost of all devotees. In the Brihad Vamana, Brahma spoke to the rishis as follows: Shastivarsha Sahasrani Mayataptam Tapapura Nandagopa Vajasrinam Padarenu Palabtiye. I tried my best by undergoing austerity for 60,000 years in order to be able to get the feet dust of the damsels of Braja, the coward boys, and King Nanda. Yet I did not get the blessings of the dust of their feet. Therefore I think that myself, Shiva, and Lakshmi are not at all equal to them. Phew, pretty heavy quote. In the Adi Purana, the personality of Godhead said, Natame Priyatamo Brahmarudrascha Partiva Nacha Lakshmir Nachatmasta Yathagopi Jano Mama. There is nobody dearer to me than the coward damsels of Braja, not even Brahma, Shiva, Lakshmi, or even my own self. Wow. Amazing. Okay, so now we'll continue tomorrow and we will take some questions. Okay, we got a good number of people here. So you can, after I allow you to unmute yourselves, you can either raise your hand. Hold on a second. It's going a little slower today. All right. The computer has been on vacation for so long, he goes a little slow now. So you can either raise your hands, unmute yourselves, or type in the chat window if you have a question. So someone should have a question after all this time of being off the air. Does anyone have a question? Wow. Raise your hand or we'll end early. Raise your hand, type in the text window, or unmute yourself. All right. No one has a question. Okay, if no one has a question, then we're going to continue tomorrow, same time. I will send out a notice to everybody. And, whoops, someone has a question. What does it practically mean? Okay, here's a question. Maharajji, what does it practically mean to have the dust of the lotus feet of the damsels of Braja? Practically, it means following in their mood of simplicity, abject humility. Practically, it means to study Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashtaka, especially if we go to the last verse, the last verse of the Shikshashtaka. Ah, Krishna, you can crush me by your embrace, leave me brokenhearted by not being present before me. You're completely free to do anything and everything. And this is the mood of the damsels of Braja. That's what it means. To be in their mood. What is the mood of Srimati Radharani? Not that I am the enjoyer, but I just want to serve Srimati Radharani in her service to Krishna. Now, the dust of the lotus feet, it means service. Oftentimes we're asked this question, why do we always talk about lotus feet? This really bewilders people in the Western world. Please accept my obeisances at your lotus feet. Well, that means service. Like if you look at someone's feet, you naturally become humble. Of course, there's one exception to that. It's a funny story. When I was a new devotee, uh, I was cautioned you never look a lady in the face. So when I would visit my mother, I would only look at her feet, and it would make her very upset at me. She said, "Why you keep looking at my feet?" She was thinking I had some problems since I joined the Hare Krishna movement, that I was into feet or something like that, or I wanted to become a podiatrist, a foot doctor. But actually, it wasn't appropriate in the case of my mother. And certainly I didn't want to become her servant. I mean, I did serve her by giving her Krishna consciousness and arranged for her wonderful departure from this world, going back to home, back to Godhead by the mercy of Krishna's devotees. But the serving, that means serving the gopis. And the gopis serve, like we serve Prabhupada, then we're engaged in serving or taking the dust of the lotus feet of the damsels of Braja. Very good question. Braja Leela, you have a question. You can unmute yourself or type.
Please accept my obeisances, Gurudev. Um, I guess I was thinking about the statement that at first you become absorbed in service before you are really absorbed in the pastimes.
Yeah.
And I was um actually right before you said that, I was thinking about like if you're doing service for um tons of years in the movement and then but you're really not like thinking about Krishna, like internally that's not, like not much is going on for whatever reason, then it's
Yeah.
like I was considering that that would be possibly a waste of time. Like you're not actually you're just your
Now,
body's doing service, but
well,
your
you
mind
have to
isn't.
meditate. To do service means with your mind too, to meditate on who you're doing the service for. Just like sometimes one may be making an offering of boga food to the deities, but just reciting the mantras and not
Mhm.
realizing what they're doing, who they're doing it for. So, service, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, service entails thinking of the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. And if they're not thinking of the purpose of why they're doing what they're doing, then that's called niyam agraha. Teachers of Rupa Goswami, we find that as a drawback or a impediment in devotional service.
Looks like his computer crashed.
Uh-oh.
It's not the internet, it's his computer.
That's worse.
Yes, definitely the computer says the internet's fine here next door. Uh-oh. Maybe you should text him, Jugget.
No, he'll reboot his computer and then it'll come back.